All I can do is try on this video. And I hope I don't bounce around. This is a new phone. I wanted to put this up, Elizabeth, and this is the brood that have my money and the British money. I have put a lot of these videos up. I found out that I found this out in really 83, but looking back, I know my husband knew about my birth, right? And so did the Dempseys, where I was taken when I was kidnapped in 41 at age 2. This is my Uncle George, the illegal George V, the one the movie making him out the good guy was made. And by the way, Madonna made the movie of the Duke and Duchess of Windsor about that time, same year. And she's never gone back to correct it. It is appalling to me that people, as much as I've put this up on video and told the media, and the fact that it was told to me by the Brits and the Germans about my birthright. And then I was able to remember being brought to Moulton, Alabama and dumped there, where someone made the statement where they thought I would never make my way back home. And I'm not there yet. But anyway, this is 1939, and George the Sixth, illegal, is here having a good time with Roosevelt, the Jew, who appointed Joe Kennedy, who I found out recently was married indirectly to the Windsor family, I believe, into the Mountbatten side there. So this takedown of my father has been ongoing. And so far, Elizabeth sits behind Buckingham Palace. She even was invited to Virginia and came through here. And I'll tell you when it was. It's when the shootings happened at Virginia Tech right after then. I'm living on top of the mountain, freezing, had froze, starved, etc., trying to stay alive. So anyway, she went right through. She went through Lexington, Kentucky, because she had horses there. Wonder how she paid for the horses, you know. Annie Dempsey Carter, would have been my aunt had I been Peggy Ann Dempsey. I have to use that name, Peggy Ann Dempsey Childers, because I can't get my name back yet. But she lived in Carlisle, Kentucky, outside Lexington. Annie Dempsey Carter did. And Elizabeth actually went to church there when she was in Lexington with her horses, etc. I mean, you talk about flaunting around while I hope that somehow it's shown what was done to me, and reputations would be ruined. All these people, I'm going to try to get to something else. My father, this is the real Edward VIII, my dad, never married Wallace Simpson. He married a beautiful lady, my mom, school teacher, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor, who is the real Queen Mother. This is Georgia, my aunt, the artist. And this is O'Keefe genealogy. My mom was born in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. Now, this is Wallace Warfield Simpson that married a look-alike, a double. They became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor, and they lived in finery. They lived in, he was sent, it says here, this is a double. My dad was taken out of the picture. All his money and everything was stashed where with Elizabeth. And they made this out to be a hero, Madonna. None of this is true. Okay, let me go. This is the double that married, and they've changed the photographs, unless you can go back and get some of the real photographs of my dad. But right here, I wanted to, first of all, let me get this. This is the Duchess, they call her. She's American Spy. She was illegitimate, by the way, in birth. That's where they put me in Moulton, Alabama, and gave me the name of a twin. And Carl and Peggy, the twin that gave me her name, were born out of wedlock. Supposedly, their father was Freeman Norwood, who married, by the way, Geneva. So you get into stuff like Philip was put down there, and supposed to be a half-brother to me came in there. So you get the names that tie things together. But here is Wallace being friends with Roosevelt, Mrs. Roosevelt, Eleanor. And I just showed you the picture, I think, of where they're in cahoots and kidnapping me. But I want to show this because I did have another photo, and it was of my Aunt Anita, I believe, O'Keefe. But somebody took it because a lot of things have been taken. But this is Wallace here, and it's at a polo club, West Palm Beach, March of 1955, Palm Beach Polo Club. All right, this doesn't show if the one was stolen from me. Shows my aunt, I believe it's Anita, and she was at a table here at this same polo match, so I know the year, March of 55. And obviously, if you saw the photo, I wish I had it, this, there's words, but they don't describe her. This is Wallace Simpson sitting there in all her finery, pretending to be the Duchess of Windsor, married to the king, which is a total. How did they get away with it? Anyway, Wallace Simpson is obviously just sitting down at the table with my Aunt Anita, and from the posturing, my aunt had turned her back and her side away from her, and she didn't have a smile on her face. So it's almost like Wallace sat down and flaunted it. So there's no need to go. They lived in finery, and I think about the movie that was made about Wallace and the double, the look-alike. Now then, a friend of mine, I guess he's still a friend, was FBI and a U.S. Marshal. He got this for me, and this was the 100-year seal. Now, I recently found out that Winston Churchill had my father's files burned, that being his marriage to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, school teacher, beautiful lady, and had it burned, and that's my birthright that was burned, my birth certificate. And on the forced abdication, it stated that if my father had an heir, if one should be born, because he intended to take it back, that the heir would inherit. And I was born in 1939, and the day I was born, it was supposed to go back to my father. Born Victoria II, heir to the British crown. There was an attachment, and that was burned in the Windsor files by this great hero, Sir Winston Churchill. By the way, I'm going to try to read a little bit of this before it goes out. It's such a horrible thing here. The documents until recently ordered remain closed for 100 years after the abdication. My father did abdicate. It was forced. My father was married to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor, an American. Beautiful lady, teacher. That says something about who my father chose to marry. He had nothing to do with this cold-blooded American spy or any of that, Wallace Simpson. Okay, all this is lies. Everybody should read it. The king allegedly paid off Wallace and told the millions. The king's friend, Sir Winston Churchill, thought the pressures of the events had brought Edward to a breakdown. All of these are lies. Special branch detectives supposedly guarding the king were in fact spying on him and reporting details of his romance back to their political masters. Okay, now then, it goes on, except some of this gets too much. Like Spencer, that was former husband of Wallace, was born in Winfield, Kansas, I believe, or his name was Winfield. Anyway, I could get into that, and it's like a name game that goes through it. There's a reference here in these papers that were released. reference to Thelma and Lady something, American twin sister of Gloria Vanderbilt, mistress until she went on a trip to, I don't know where that was, and asked Wallace to be sure to look after. They're saying my father, and of course, darling, I will. And she took the prince away from Thelma, it was reported. And now, if I'm not mistaken, is this not Anderson Cooper, CNN's mother? These are all lies. Why has the press suppressed all this? And they know it. And then there's the offshoot of me writing a book about mind control murders done in patterns, and I put all that up. And the press knows it. They knew about my kidnapping, all this before I did. Okay, let me go down here. In 1937, the year that Wallace, in exile to France, finally married a Duchess of Windsor. I don't know, that's something else I wanted. There's something else on here I wanted to put, and I don't see it. It's talking about, well, I'm sorry I didn't get that. Let me see here. The king's friend, Winston Churchill, I said that about the pressures. So it's just a whole bunch of stuff that's so ludicrous that you can't believe that they put it up and put a 100-year seal on it. So the British people and the Germans, and there's some Americans I know that have helped in this, but most of it's been cover-up. And I guess this is not going to go up if I don't get off. The only, and put it up, I don't have that much time on it. I did want to get this on there, though. I would think that too many people have known about this before I did in 83. You would think they would be marching, but then you've got, and no, I'm not making this up, it's what happened to me April Fool Day of 80, after I'd done the book, and what was done to me in Atlanta, Georgia. You got the corruption going to Martin Luther King and Andrew Young, and I was in his office. He was made UN ambassador to South Africa by Jimmy Carter, who I like. Jimmy Carter, Atlanta, Georgia, and all that, governor and then president. But hey, so the whole thing was using me as a pawn. South Africa, it's all gone. Everything British now belongs to the United States, and it's gone into a global government. Now then, what they did to me, the Martin Luther King partnered with the Kennedys, and with John Kennedy, and they make Robert Kennedy out to be a hero. They did take over the government. Robert was going to be Attorney General, I believe, so he can squash any investigations that come his way. Do you really think that the FBI director threw all that out so that you would see it about Hillary? He threw it out there before he turned it over to the Justice Department because Loretta, what's her last name, the Attorney General, would not prosecute it. He threw it out there. You would never have known about it, what he turned over. It would have been hidden. So instead, he laid his job on the line and put it out there for you to see. And they're not going to prosecute it. But what I want to say, too, and I'm skipping, so I'm in a hurry so I don't use up this and it won't go up. The tape won't. Look at Hillary Clinton, and half of what she's done, the laws broken, are not even told about yet. Now then, Martin Luther King did partner. In other words, there's a good word for it, if you ever see what they stood by and did to me, with the Kennedys in taking over South Africa and everything from the British, from me, even the monarch. So I think I'll just stop there and see if I can get this up. And I hope this is told. I hope and pray my father's name is cleared, my mother's and mine, and my children are still alive. And you see, the world sees what was done to them. And Martin Luther King and Mrs. King absolutely knew. And Andy Young, let me say Andy Young, I was in his office, in Atlanta, when he was mayor. Gotcha. So here I'm going, this has gone over, I know.